I think I'm entitled.
You want answers!
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
I woke up this morning, got myself a gun. Mama always said I'd be the chosen one.
We're told right now in the past 30 or 40 minutes here that they might try to pull this interim spending bill off the floor and maybe just go with a clean bill. Unclear what that means for disaster assistance. Here's what happened. A post on X by Elon Musk sent shockwaves through the Capitol. House Republicans were trying to see if they have enough votes to pass the spending bill in the next hour or two. Musk posted that anyone who votes yes should lose their office in 2 years, and lawmakers are scrambling. The tweets from Musk, has that complicated this?
Well, I mean, I think that there's always a lot of interest in what's happening up here, and
this is more than interest. They're telling people if they vote yes, they should be voted out.
The social media world is a part of our politics, and I think members have to expect that. There will be a lot of hard votes in the next couple of years.
A member of the House Republican leadership told Fox that Musk is not helping. The lawmaker added that Musk has bigger fish to fry than picking a fight with House Republicans. One source said the bill is now bleeding support from the GOP. When asked how many Democrats the GOP needs to pass the bill, a senior aide replied, quote, a lot.
In other words, you're not going to get that pork bill passed through like you want to. They want to blame Elon Musk for this falling apart and Donald Trump. It's what they put into the bill that they're trying to push past the American public in this 1,500-page document that was delivered the other day. And if it's not passed by Friday, sometime tomorrow, well, then we might have a government shutdown. I know we've been down this road before numerous times. And we've had, quote, a couple of government shutdowns, and often, if it happens, Republicans get the blame. Regardless of what they had to do with it, they're going to get the blame. And, of course, already the finger-pointing is underway. You got Trump, you got Musk, you got Ramaswamy, and you got all the Democrats. And the Democrats, of course, we're the good people here. We're trying to keep everything going. We're trying to protect the American people. You are trying to rob the American people in more ways than you have been. And when I tell you a couple of things that are inside this bill, buried deep inside of it, you're going to be PO'd, believe me. Well, there goes the Christmas spirit, right? Sorry. Welcome aboard. Hour number one of Larry Connors USA, December 19, 2024. And we're here every Monday through Friday for you from 6 to 8 p.m. When we're on the air, we are streaming video. You can watch the program, and I'm telling you, watch right now. You're going to get this. You're going to get it. How do you do that? Well, you go to NewsTalkSTL, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or you go to Larry Connors USA, Larry Connors USA, Rumble, or Facebook. I came so close to saying YouTube again. They cut us off a long time ago, and I could care less. But you can watch us, Larry Connors USA, Rumble, or Facebook. And reminding you also, if you miss any part of either program, audio or video, and you want to pull it back up or listen to it again, or more importantly, listen and share to someone else, that would be the true spirit of Christmas and giving, sharing Larry Connors USA with them. And I would thank you for doing that, as would my sponsors. How do you do that? Well, you go to News Talk STL Podcast. You go to LarryConnorsUSA.com, Larry Connors USA Facebook. Those are the best ways. You can find us anywhere. Just search, Google, Larry Connors USA. I'm going to be right there. So we have this situation with this, again, trying to push through a continuing resolution bill. A year ago this time, House Speaker Mike Johnson saying, we're not going to do this again next Christmas. Well, here we are, and we're doing it again because House Republicans cannot seem to get their act together. And they did not get the message from the American voters. We're tired of what you've been doing and spending our money on. And you got to cut out all the pork. You got to focus on what's really important to the Americans. Give us a clean spending bill. Well, you heard in that Fox report, well, that might actually affect people that are really in need. And here comes on cue the House Minority Leader, New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries.
House Republicans, House Democrats, Senate Republicans, and Senate Democrats reached a bipartisan agreement to fund the government, keep it open, and meet the needs of the American people.
Yes.
We reached a bipartisan agreement to provide disaster assistance to everyday Americans whose lives have been upended and turned upside down as a result of hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, floods,
yeah, that is true,
and other types of extreme weather events.
That's true.
We reached a bipartisan agreement to meet the needs of the American people and provide assistance to farmers, families, children, seniors, veterans, men and women in uniform, and working class Americans.
Oh, he pulled them all together. Everybody in the same pile. And his BS about the federal disaster funding. When this is the same administration that was bypassing homes if they had Trump signs on them in following some of the hurricane disaster relief. And they still have abandoned the people in North Carolina, not really doing anything for them, saying, well, we just can't. You folks need to move out of there. That's Hakeem Jeffries. Now, for the other side of what's happening, Missouri Senator Hawley.
This continuing resolution, whatever, it's a total joke. You're right, it is 1,500 pages of pork barrel spending, and worse than that, it's all the woke garbage. It's the censorship boards. They're getting funded in this. There's hundreds of millions of dollars for a recycling access center in this bill. I mean, it is a total offense, and you pointed out, there's also the pay raise for members of Congress. There's the Obamacare carve-out for members of Congress. Here's the thing that really gets me. Republicans negotiated this. The Speaker of the House negotiated this bill. It is a total travesty. This has got to change. I mean, we cannot go on like this. And I hope that Republican leadership gets the message here, the message of this election, which is that people want change. They don't want this garbage. I'm a hard no on this thing. It is a joke. It is a travesty. And they need to go back to square one.
And that is exactly why the Republicans are being reminded, if you are going to push along this kind of pork and this kind of nonsense, you will be primaried in 2 years. You might need to consider moving your office, as you were hearing earlier. You want an example of something else that's buried inside this thing? It removes the word, and why this would be in there? Somebody said, well, let me slip this in. Maybe I can get by with it. This is, again, part of the wokeism they're trying to keep alive. The continuing resolution bill removes the word offender and replaces it with justice-involved individual. What the hell does that have to do with financing our government? I'm glad you asked that question, Larry. The answer is not a damn thing. But we're going to change the word offender and anything that has to do with legal processes and replace it with justice-involved individual. There's your woke policy. Hakeem Jeffries, say you.
House Republicans have now unilaterally decided to break a bipartisan agreement that they made. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country. House Republicans will now own any harm that is visited upon the American people that results from a government shutdown or worse. An agreement is an agreement. It was bipartisan, and there is nothing more to say.
Yeah, there is more to say. There is more to say. It was not really a bipartisan agreement. The GOP members that signed on to it, gave more than they got. And an agreement would be like our border security, right? That we don't let illegals into our nation? Well, in fact, we did. And one of the issues One of the issues is, again, they're trying to do everything to say this will be Trump's fault, the Republicans' fault. They want to put it all on the Republicans. And I think a bigger concern that needs to be dealt with, obviously, is all the illegals in the country. That's why, they're the ones that are really ruining our government, not a government shutdown. If it comes to a government shutdown on Friday night at midnight, so be it. It'll happen briefly, and then it'll be resolved as usual. But Missouri Senator Schmidt says all they're trying to do is Trump-proof Washington.
So how are the Democrats trying to Trump-proof on their way out? Two ways. First is they're selling off the border wall for less than 1% of its value. That's been in the news last couple days. And I'm just leaving the Capitol objecting to and blocking an initiative that they put forth to pass another law that would prevent President Trump from shaping the executive branch how he wants to, possibly firing federal workers who don't show up to work. Only about 16% of federal workers are in any one of these buildings in Washington on any given day. So reform is coming, January 2025.
And you know what? They also want those employees to be spread out across the nation, get rid of all those expensive buildings and offices in D.C., which are not going to anyway, sell those off if they can find a buyer, get some money back. Federal union employees, oh, no, we don't want to be moved. We don't be shipped all over the world. We might end up somewhere like in Missouri. Oh, my God. In the meantime, a House ethics report on Gates is going to be released. The leftists are so excited, I'm telling you, they're about to wet their pants. Democrat attorney Mark Elias.
Look, to me, this is not that complicated. Matt Gaetz is what he is, and the Republicans in the House were just as happy as the Democrats originally to release the report because they didn't want to have to answer for him or stand up behind him. Then what happened is Donald Trump appointed him to be the Attorney General, and all of a sudden, the Republicans all fell into line. And the Republicans in the House were going to protect Matt Gaetz at all costs because that's what Donald Trump wanted them to do. Then Matt Gaetz dropped out, and they reverted back to, okay, let's release the report, except with the caveat, we don't want to embarrass our members by having them to answer questions about this report. As Ali said, for understandable political reasons. Let's be clear. The Democrats, they don't have any political reasons to not want to talk about the Gaetz report. The people who are worried that this will be released while they're still around are the Republicans who are going to have to explain why it is they were willing to protect this guy for so long and wanted to originally stymie this report. And the only reason they were wanting to do that is because they're sycophants and protectors of Donald Trump.
All right, so let's take that and break it apart for you. Matt Gaetz did issue a statement, and pointing out in his statement, the Biden-Garland DOJ spent several years reviewing allegations I committed various crimes. I was charged with nothing, fully exonerated, not even a campaign finance violation. But these people hate me. He said, now the same witnesses the DOJ deemed not credible were taken before the House committee. He said, in my single days, I often sent money to women I dated, even some I never dated, but who asked for money. I dated several of those women for years. I never had sexual contact with someone under the age of 18. Any claim I would have would be destroyed in court if someone claimed that. There is no such claim made in court for that very reason. He said, it is embarrassing, though not criminal, that I probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than I should have in a different life and a different time. I have a different life now. Where is all the sympathy the Democrats have for Hunter Biden? Reverend Matt Gaetz. Oh, that's right. Matt Gaetz is on the other side of the aisle. And Matt Gaetz being very direct. He said, in my single days, I did some things I'm not very proud of. You know what? Larry Connors can say the same thing. How about you? Let me take you back to November 2017. November 2017, when all the talk was about this slush fund inside Congress. CNN even reported on it, saying two things have become painfully clear. Lawmakers and staffers say sexual harassment is rampant, but even members of Congress have no idea just how widespread the problem is. The Office of Compliance releasing additional information indicating through a slush fund in Congress, victims of congressional staff members or members of Congress themselves were paid more than $17 million since that fund was created in the 1990s. When was the money paid out? Apparently over a period of 20 years. How many settlements? 268. Where did the settlement money come from? You, the taxpayer. You paid for it. And who really knows about the settlements and payments? The chair of the committee at that time, ranking chair, said, well, after a payment is reached, it must be approved. But at that point, it's unclear how many are involved, and no one else is going to say anything else. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, if you want to release the Gates file, I say release all files on all congressmen and what they've been hiding. And she's not the only one saying that. Let them all out. Let's put everything out. You want to do that? Oh, you know they don't. In fact, to that extent, one of the things that Adam Schiff and also California Congressman Swalwell probably want to hide is the fact that they've been indicated and documented through the Attorney General's investigative source, and it has never been changed, that during the Biden years, they were purposely leaking classified information to members of the media, the friendly media. All of this was made public, but then also kind of hidden, and nothing's been done about it. Now, once Kash Patel gets in and gets into the FBI, Pam Bondi has with the Attorney General's office, a lot of that's going to be made a little bit more clear. But they were leaking material, and they were also spying on political foes. Again, the Justice Department acknowledging 2 lawmakers were identified as leakers. That would be Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell. We'll get into that more in the next hour. Later in this hour, University of Minnesota paying 5-year-olds to play with transgender dolls. Plus, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy exposing the hypocrisy of the climate change worshipers. But up next, Dr. James Thorpe on the deadliest vaccine in history. You don't want to miss anything coming up for the rest of this hour and certainly the second hour. Call your friends, let them know Larry Connors USA is on the air. Lock and load, ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors USA.
My sponsor, Wellington Environmental, has helped thousands deal with hazardous materials. Hospitals, offices, schools, even homes. Here's something new. Wellington now offers dustless blasting. This is just like sandblasting, but without all the dust and emissions. Wellington uses everything from ground glass, walnuts, corn, even dry ice pellets. One university had Wellington remove their parking lot striping because dustless blasting is fast and it does not damage the concrete. So as a business or homeowner, I'm sure you could use this process. Industrial tanks, swimming pools, graffiti on buildings. And in fact, Wellington is blasting a Texaco station that will be revised as an historic building. Check the website for details and photos. WellingtonSTL.com. WellingtonSTL.com. True story. I was with Jay Ackerman, and a waitress came up and began praising Ackerman Toyota. She was afraid she might need a new car, so she had gone to Ackerman and was told, you don't really need a new car, just new tires. Obviously, tremendously relieved and thanking Jay over and over. Another example where Ackerman Toyota did what's right for her and will for you. AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota for life. John Beal knows that right after a hailstorm, new roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
This is News Talk STL.
And where down we go, where down we go, so where down we go, way down we go.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
One of the things I want to happen with this new administration, I want those responsible for pushing the COVID lie upon us and forcing folks to get vaccinations to be held accountable. We began with Dr. Fake. Dr. Fauci, you're at the top of that list, by the way. And joining me now is a board-certified OBGYN, maternal and fetal medicine for 44 years, co-author of a book with Celia Farber, Sacrifice, How the Deadliest Vaccine in History Targeted the Most Vulnerable. Dr. James Thorpe, welcome aboard, sir.
Larry, thank you so much for having me on your platform, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, sir. Now, this vaccine had problems and issues in the beginning, and I understand in the very beginning, and Trump said, cut the red tape, let's get something out as quickly, as safely as we can, and get something available. But then it became a control agent by the administration that came in after Trump.
That's right. That's right. This was corrupt from the very beginning. Our government, our healthcare agencies, HHS, CDC, FDA, all of the medical journals, all of the hospitals, and all of the pharmacies have been bought off and bribed and corrupted to push the HHS COVID draconian narratives.
Now, to that extent, Biden is giving Pfizer and Moderna, basically continuing to give them a shield for any injuries or deaths linked to the COVID vaccines.
That's correct. And, you know, what I've learned, what I've really learned here just recently is that this can only be fought at the local level. It can't be fought in the federal government, the Congress. They're all bought off and corrupt. But an example, last month, myself and 5 other experts testified in the largest health district in Idaho, the Southeast District. And in that district, this healthcare, this Department of Health banned the COVID-19 shots, the first in the United States of America. And we just testified again yesterday in the most communist state of Washington, in Franklin County.
Oh.
And myself also testified again. So we need to win it at the local levels. It can't be won at the state or
But it
federal
takes
level.
a lot of money to fight on the local. If you're talking about individuals who've been harmed and everything, going through lawsuits and everything, Pfizer and Moderna, they have all this. And if there's a shield to protect them, give them immunity, who's going to pay for any damage?
Remember, the shield is pierced when there's fraud. When there's criminal actions, the legal shield.
It's like an immunity grant, but if you don't give us everything or if you lie to us, we revoke the immunity.
That's right. That's right. If there's criminal activity involved, which there has clearly been. But for starters, this vaccine wasn't produced by Pfizer or Moderna. It was produced by the Department of Defense. And I think that's pretty clear right now. This was a military operation with very sinister. Pfizer and Moderna were just paid off to distribute it.
Now,
So,
to that point, are we going to actually see details of that, you think, with the new administration coming in?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I think that the assignment of RFK Jr. To his position is a huge, huge, big deal. And listen, I know he's not a physician, he's an attorney, but I've been in practice for 45 years plus, and in my 45 years of plus, RFK Jr., Bobby knows more about health, wellness, and vaccinology than 99% of physicians I've worked with.
And, you know, to that extent, ivermectin, which we were told, you can't even discuss that on your social media page. It's available over the counter now anywhere.
Well, I don't know about that. Anywhere, for sure, in Tennessee, but is that true in other states? Teach me.
Well, I might have overstated it. Let me correct it. And to the extent that this ivermectin had been known and used for decades. It was not just for a horse or equine disease. It was capable of doing all sorts of things, correct? And they were basically dismissing it, saying, that's not going to do any good. You're just taking horse medicine. You must take our vaccine.
You're absolutely correct with that, 100%. In fact, you know, ivermectin, this was a Nobel Prize winning drug, and it's very safe and effective, extremely safe and effective. And now we're seeing that it's curing advanced stages of cancers, William Macus and others. So, you know, I've prescribed thousands of doses of ivermectin, maybe tens of thousands of doses. I've never seen a complication from it. By the way,
but what have you
same
seen
thing with
hydroxychloroquine? Okay, I'm good. I'm glad
Same thing with hydroxychloroquine.
So,
I've used that in pregnancy for 40 years. So has every other doctor.
Well, how does those numbers and your 40-plus years of experience relate to the COVID-19 vaccines? Reference your practice at OBGYN and sources.
The COVID-19 vaccine, as I've testified to for the last 4 years, is the deadliest, most injurious drug ever released to the public. It's worse than rat poison.
I'm sorry, worse than what?
Rat poison.
That's exactly what I thought you said. I just wanted to hear it again. Now, to that point, again, we're talking Dr. James Thorpe. He and Celia Farber authored Sacrifice, How the Deadliest Vaccine in History Targeted the Most Vulnerable. That would be the elderly and children in particular. And we were told that we were told the vaccine was good, starting after 6 months, but they were also giving it or saying it should be given to pregnant women when she's carrying a baby that's obviously less than 6 months. I never understood that.
Well, you're absolutely right. Let me just maybe clarify that a little bit. I'm board certified obstetrician gynecologist and also board subspecialty certified in high risk obstetrics known as maternal fetal medicine. The title of that book, Sacrifice, How the Deadliest Vaccine in History Targeted the Most Vulnerable, that is actually a reference to my patients globally, pregnant women, preborns, and newborns. And the golden rule of pregnancy has reigned for 6,000 years. No, you don't have to be a doctor or a nurse. You don't even have to have any education. Every human being knows that you never use novel substances in pregnancy. The golden rule of pregnancy was decimated and abrogated and violated 5 years ago.
And how many have suffered? How many cases we still don't really know, or how many may show up in the future are their offspring?
You bring up a good point. DES, diethylstilbestrol, introduced in the mid-20th century, had multi-generational disasters. And, I'm seeing, I'm still actively practicing. I'm seeing preborns and mothers who are, I believe, severely affected by the poison shots that were administered over 2 years ago. So, and then these children, it appears that the poison mRNA is reverse transcribed permanently into the human genome. So this could affect every generation from here on out. We don't know that.
That is one of my biggest concerns and prayers, that protect these children and their children to come, because we don't know what we've done to the human bodies. But more importantly, now you have a lack of faith in our medical sources that we should have, and they should have credibility. How are you going to restore that?
Well, you know what? It shouldn't be restored. The doctors and nurses and hospitals don't deserve any respect. used to have great amount of respect for them, but now I have more respect for attorneys than I do physicians. Listen, 95% of physicians, they know what's going on, and they're keeping silent to protect their paycheck and their job. They won't stand up for the truth. They're still prescribing the poison.
So if we have a real, another COVID type event, and we really do need people to take a particular medicine, who are they going to believe?
Well, I would believe the doctors that stood up and put their necks out, like myself and many others, Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Kelly Victory, Dr. Drew Pinsky, Dr. Harvey Reich, Pierre Corey, Dr. Ryan Cole, Dr. Kimberly Biss, Dr. Dan McDyer, Dr. Mary Kelly.
That's a long list. That's a long list, but
I could go on and on.
I know you could.
The people that stuck their necks out and were fired and persecuted, and they stood up from the very beginning. So those are the people you trust. The wellness company, is made up. The wellness company is a parallel healthcare system. You can trust everybody in that company, I guarantee you, because we've all been persecuted.
All right, Dr. James Thorpe. Again, the book is available now. It's the most deadly vaccine ever released on our vulnerable. Thank you, Dr. Thorpe.
Sacrifice of the deadliest vaccine in history.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
I've got a phone number for you and a website where you can take a free, quick survey to learn how to use artificial intelligence, AI, to put your company on a fast track to the future. Here's the number. It's a 636 area code, 636-689-0545. 689-0545. This is PRI Global. And recently, the St. Louis Business Journal named PRI Global as a leading IT consulting company. 25 years working with hundreds of companies, several Fortune 500, locally and around the world. PRI Global has its own AI lab to develop what's best for your company. Take the free survey and be on your way to the future. 636-689-0545. 689-0545. Or go direct priglobal.ai. priglobal.ai. Want a special gift for someone who enjoys a good cigar or premium whiskey? Head for Lit Cigar Lounge in the district of Chesterfield Valley. You'll also find amazing, unusual lighters and ashtrays. You can't decide? Get a gift card. When you finish, walk a few doors down and enjoy Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta. The pizza baked in a coal-fired oven. Select from the menu or design your own. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta. This hour of Larry Connors USA brought to you by my friends at Renewal by Anderson. And listen to this. Renewal is having a killer of a sale. Buy any window or door. Get a second one, 50% off, 0 interest, no payments for 18 months. Renewal has the most 5-star reviews of any full-service window company. Simply dial pound 250, pound 250, and say the key word, windows.
This is News Talk STL.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh no, 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 I'm a rocket man, burning out his fuse out there.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
This report from Substack, citing multiple unnamed sources, claims the U.S. intelligence community asked foreign spy agencies to help spy on more than 24 associates of Donald Trump in the run-up to the 2016 election. It reads in part, quote, President Barack Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, had identified 26 Trump associates for the Five Eyes to target. A source confirmed that the IC had identified them as people to bump or make contact with or manipulate. They were targets of our own IC and law enforcement, targets for collection and misinformation. Now, the Five Eyes nations are the U.S., U.K., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Here's one of the reporters, Michael Schellenberger, who spoke to Jesse Waters last night.
If this binder contains what we have been told that it contains, which may include raw intelligence, information showing that the U.S. government, the CIA and the intelligence community of the U.S. government, initiated the Russia collusion hoax, that it did not occur in the way that the official story, including the Durham investigation, had portrayed it, then that's extremely serious information.
And more importantly, under the Biden administration, it is probably still going on, even as I speak. And it will probably continue until it's ferreted out by the Trump administration. Ben Weingarten, I should say, for a Real Clear Investigative Reports, has a piece that's been published in the Federalist, and he specifies to that extent how these issues can continue to evolve and basically morph into something even bigger and more dangerous. He said, you don't have to think hard how a corrupt national security apparatus could use the predicate of an illegal leak to spy on political foes. He said that chilling constitutional nightmare has transpired. We're only getting details about the separation of powers, civil liberties undermining, transparency, so forth, 7 years after it started. He said they come in a recently released Justice Department Inspector General report. And again, like many of these, it begins with Russiagate. In the spring and summer of 2017, the first year of the Trump presidency, CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all publishing articles containing classified information concerning Trump and Russia. Among the unauthorized disclosures, a FISA warrant issued to surveil Trump's foreign policy advisor, Carter Page, and those warrants would be renewed at least 4 times. Page was framed as a Russian agent. Well, how did the Washington Post, New York Times, and so forth get hold of that information? Because of leaks. And what were the sources of the leaks? Well, there is where you get into something else that still needs to be brought to account. Among those reportedly leaking the material, the ranking committee member of that investigation, Congressman Adam Schiff, leaking the material, along with Congressman Swalwell of California, intentionally leaking it to the New York Times, the Washington Post. This is classified material. Leaking such material should be a crime. Oh, hell, it is a crime. And it could amount to treason. But do you see them being hauled up? No, this is why Biden is thinking about a blanket pardon for everyone involved in his administration. Now, Schiff, who is now a U.S. Senator, because he was elected to fill an outgoing senator in California, and between him and Governor Newsom, they decided to kick the senator out early or show him the door early so Schiff could be appointed immediately. He is now a member of the U.S. Senate, so he's going to have standing when the other members, the new members of the Senate, come in January. Would you expect that he would say, we should get to the bottom of this? No. And in fact, when it comes to pardons, he says, I don't think there should be a blanket pardon. He knows he would be the beneficiary of one of those. But he thinks that might put too much heat on him, and that's why he does not want so-called pardon at this point. Is that just speculation, or is that reality? But these leaks and the Justice Department failing to follow department policy and ignoring established protections open up the door to the leaks. There was a 2023 lawsuit against the Justice Department. Kash Patel, Trump's pick to serve as FBI director, said he was one of those staffers working for the House Intel Committee at the time. And he claims the collection was, quote, in complete contravention of the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The Inspector General revealing the two lawmakers targeted because a Democrat staffer identified them as potential leakers but didn't provide any support for the claim. CBS News reported at one point, Justice Department prosecutors subpoenaed Apple for the data from the accounts of Congressmen Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell of California while investigating leaks of classified intel related to any contacts between aides of Donald Trump and Russia in the early days of the Trump administration. The IG report notes information obviously was leaked to the New York Times, the Washington Post. You can connect the dots. But of course, they're going to try to just walk away from it. If the IG report says that the FBI could still be spying on members of Congress and leaking simply to help the Democrats, we need to have an accountability at the highest level. Get Kash Patel in there at the FBI, Pam Bondi over the Attorney General's office, and we will get to the bottom of some of this. And Adam Schiff may well be crying out, oh, I wish Biden had given me a pardon. And he might secretly want one anyway, but he doesn't want it to appear that I have any reason to have a pardon. I don't have any crimes I've committed, aside from lying. And that is a conviction if you lie under perjury, under threat of perjury. But we'll see what happens. But the leftists continue their push on all sorts of levels. For instance, take note of this. This is the kind of thing that it's going to disgust you. If kids ages 5 to 10 were told, I'll give you a $20 bill or I'll give you $60 bills, $60 to play with some dolls, would you do that? Every kid would say, sure. The University of Minnesota is doing that. They're offering to pay children as young as 5 up to 10, anywhere between $20 and $60 to play with transgender dolls, with mix and match genitalia. It's Potato Head all over again, but instead of putting on the pipe and the nose and the eyes and the ears, you're putting on genitalia or removing them. The Instagram post advertising the activity is these kids are playing with my gender dolls. It's sponsored by the National Center for Gender Spectrum Health, part of the Human Sexuality Program at the University of Minnesota's Medical School. The center also produced a handbook to, quote, support sexual pleasure education. Why? I have never heard a single good, solid reason why anyone wants to push this stuff into the face of 5 and 10-year-olds. I know why. They just won't admit it. They want to push these children into warped mindset moving forward, basically destroying their lives and having them disturb the rest of their lives, all for the, quote, affirming clinical approach for these children. Giving these kids money to play with dolls. Oh, and if it's got a penis on it, you can take it off. So then it's, quote, a female doll. Or if it's a female doll, you can put the penis on it and it becomes a transgender. This is what they're doing at University of Minnesota. Anybody? Anybody out there have students attending the University of Minnesota? Progressives are constantly pushing their ideology in all ways. They don't care about the harm to your children. You know that. And one of their aims is to frighten you as well. Frighten you. You are destroying the world. You are destroying the world. Louisiana Senator John Kennedy pushed that issue with a professor who says, things are so bad with the climate right now, you should give up your home. That story when we continue.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, and don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open, Napoli Kirkwood.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Climate change should make you think home ownership. Did you write that?
Yes, I did, Senator.
It's pretty bold. You own a home?
I do, in a flood zone.
Have you sold it?
Have I sold my home?
Yeah.
I live in my home, sir.
Oh, well, you're telling everybody else to sell theirs. You're a climate extremist, aren't you, Professor?
Certainly not, Senator.
Oh, no.
You are a political extremist, aren't you?
Certainly not, Senator.
Certainly not. Certainly not. That is a Wharton professor, Wharton Business School professor, Benjamin Keyes, who pushes climate change. And basically saying climate change means you really probably should get rid of your home. But he's not getting rid of his. And I'm sure he has not sent word to Barack Obama, you need to get out of Martha's Vineyard. Your home will be underwater in 30 days or even 3 years. They want to push their agenda on everyone. And if you give an inch, if you back up, if you think, well, that might have some validity to it, they seize you by the throat and another part of your body to take good and strong advantage of you because they think they've sensed a weakness. Do not let them even assume you have a weakness. Stand strong. Senator Kennedy continued to push on the Wharton business professor.
On July 9th of 2024, did you tweet the following, quote, honestly, the biggest long-term political problem the Democrats have is that they don't know how to talk to low-information morons, close quote.
I don't believe those are my words, Senator. I'd have to be able to see them if you would share that with me.
Yeah, here it is, big as Dallas.
I don't believe those are my words, Senator.
You tweeted them.
I don't believe that I did.
Yes, you did.
I may have liked someone else's tweet or retweeted someone else's tweet.
You
Those
often
are not my words.
Like tweets you don't agree with?
Those are not my words, Senator.
Yeah, but you tweeted them in approval, didn't you? You can't make this cat walk backwards, Professor.
Cannot make this cat walk backwards. It's as big as Dallas right here. Well, those aren't my words. I didn't, but I might have liked them or retweeted them. Then they become your words. Unless you clarify and say, I do not subscribe to the following, but here was what was stated. But he did no denial. Musk and Ramaswamy, of course, are trying to get rid of a lot of excess spending in our government. They're looking at DEI programs, and they say eliminating entire divisions involving DEI across the government would basically wipe out a lot of jobs. I don't say you want to lose your job, but if you've got a job that you're trying to push DEI on people instead of doing a real job, then so be it. Go call the professor. Maybe he'll let you live at his home. And in the meantime, the Biden administration trying to push everything it can before it gets out. They just officially granted California permission to ban new gas car sales in the state of California by the year 2035. California already had set strict standard that would push in, but then there was a waiver from the EPA. But today, the EPA says, nope, we're ready to go ahead and let California ban the sale of gas cars by 2035. And they've got a lot more they're trying to do. We're going to break it all down for you with some additional examples coming up in our second hour. And also how Israel is hitting back. Remember our pledge, one nation under God.
You can hear podcast of this program at Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
John Beal knows that new roofing companies can look big and trustworthy on the internet, but the fact is 96% of new roofing companies go out of business within the first 5 years. John Beal has a reputation for excellence, reliability, plus lowest cost, best roof, best guarantee. Those here today, gone tomorrow roofers, they can't match John Beal. For home or business, trust my friend John. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. There's no pizza like Napoli Brothers Pasta and Pizza in the district Chesterfield Valley. That's because in Napoli, your pizza is in a coal-fired oven. One taste, you're going to want more. Grab a gift card, good for all Napoli locations. And a few doors down, enjoy the atmosphere of Lit Cigar Lounge. High-end cigars, single-barrel whiskey. Before you leave, pick up gift cards for family and friends at Lit Cigar Lounge. True story. I was with Jay Ackerman, and a waitress came up and began praising Ackerman Toyota. She was afraid she might need a new car, so she had gone to Ackerman and was told, you don't really need a new car, just new tires. Obviously, tremendously relieved and thanking Jay over and over. Another example where Ackerman Toyota did what's right for her and will for you. AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota for life. Here's some expert advice from McGuire Moving and Storage. If you have a home or business move coming up, you need to book now. Most moving companies are booked 6 to 8 weeks out. So call McGuire now, get an on-site estimate, set a date. McGuire has 85 years of experience and just won the Spire Quality Award. I can personally testify McGuire goes above and beyond to help the clients. McGuire Moving and Storage. McGuireMoving.com. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, now open in the district of Chesterfield Valley. Napoli has the only coal-fired pizza oven. That means an incredible taste you cannot get anywhere else. So enjoy a unique pizza at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district. And then walk a few doors down and enjoy premium cigars and drinks at Lit Cigar Lounge. There's a perfect way to end the evening. Napoli Pizza followed by Lit Cigar Lounge. A winning combination. So many times, Vincent's Jewelers has helped me surprise someone special. Vincent's locally owned can do the same for you, and you don't have to break the bank to get something really nice, maybe even customized. The smile you're going to get back from that special someone, priceless. Check VincentsJewelers.com every day because new items are arriving and there are special deals. Vincent's, my only jeweler. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. I can tell you how to get a free quick quiz to see how artificial intelligence can boost your company's potential. You go to PRIGlobal.ai, PRIGlobal.ai. St. Louis Business Magazine listing PRI as one of the leading IT companies, and PRI has its own AI lab to develop what your business needs. PRIGlobal.ai, PRIGlobal.ai.
This is NewsTalk STL.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Got myself a gun. Mama always said I'd be the chosen one.
Israel has been striking Houthi targets in Yemen. We've been hearing this. It's been confirmed by the Associated Press. And we've also seen a statement posted by the IDF on Twitter as well. The IDF spokesperson there giving us some context. Let's listen to his remarks. This was just posted.
Over the last 14 months, the Iran-backed Houthi terror regime in Yemen has launched hundreds of missile and UAV attacks against the state of Israel. This happened again tonight. The Houthi terror regime fired a missile toward central Israel, forcing millions of civilians to take cover in bomb shelters. In the last 2 weeks only, the Houthis fired a drone that hit an apartment block in southern Israel. And on Sunday, they fired a long-range missile toward central Israel.
This is, again, the Houthi rebels doing what they can to go after ships in the Red Sea, or those trying to enter the southern end of the Red Sea, and Israel. Disrupt, cause chaos, casualties, fatalities, destroy Israel. That is their sole goal. And Israel cannot and should not put up with any more of it. And so they're striking back. They're targeting specific munitions and sites that the Houthi rebels have, but there are going to be no doubt civilian casualties, because just like Hamas, just like Hezbollah, they're going to hide in the midst of civilian populations. They do not care if their fellow citizens, innocent men, women, children, babies die. They don't care. They count it as a victory. We're hour number 2 of Larry Connors USA on December 19, 2024. Glad to have you with us. If you missed the first hour, may I remind you, you can always pull up a program at any point, any time you decide to do so, video and or audio. You go to Larry Connors USA Facebook, LarryConnorsUSA.com, or NewsTalkSTL podcast outlets. You're going to find us anywhere, Larry Connors USA. And reminding you, while we're on the air with you, we are streaming video. You can watch the program, or you can just listen. If you're in your car, obviously I don't want you trying to watch while you're driving. Just listen. But you can always pull it up and watch later. And some of them said it's a pretty entertaining TV for a radio show. Well, I'm glad to have you by whatever means you choose. Let me remind you, we are coming up, of course, on the final days of our big giveaway to help you have gifts to put in stockings of children, family, relatives. NewsTalk STL has deals worked out with Metro Shooting Supplies in Bridgeton and Belleville for a 1-year range membership, a gift basket from El Morales Supermercado in Bridgeton, and, of course, we have a lot of NewsTalk STL merchandise you cannot get anywhere else except through us. So how do you get a chance to get some of that stuff? Easy. You go to NewsTalkSTL.com. NewsTalkSTL.com and enter. You can enter as many times as you want. I think the drawing is going to be held the 23rd, so you'll have time to get it before Christmas and put it in someone's stocking. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu, regarding these strikes against the Houthi rebels, makes a very solid point. Where you were hearing the member of the IDF talking about how we're fighting back because they've been hitting targets in Israel. Netanyahu said the operations are not just protecting Israel from the Iran-backed group, but the entire world. And he's right. In a video statement, he said they're not only attacking us, they are attacking the entire world. They are attacking international shipping and trade routes. So dozens of planes struck the Houthi targets along Yemen's western coast, and for the first time they actually helped the capital in the early hours of this morning. Netanyahu added, when Israel acts against the Houthis, it acts for the entire international community. And the U.S. and others should understand that. Just as they should understand going after Hamas, Hezbollah, is again a victory for the world, not just for Israel. And yet we got many nations that just don't seem to know what to make of it other than say, well, Israel, let up a little bit. Take your foot off their neck for a while. That's easy to say if you're not going to be the target of them. The footage that the IDF has been releasing, they hit an aerial refueling location where they have numerous fuel facilities. They hit munitions, massive explosions. We don't know anything about the casualty count because the Houthi rebels aren't saying anything about it, and no one may be even alive to report it as for that particular area. But the explosions as recorded and shown on television across Israel and also across the world now through the internet shows massive explosions. Keep in mind, we're talking about Yemen is about 2,000 miles, 2,000 kilometers, a little less than 2,000 miles from Israel. 14 fighter jets, spy planes, possibly drones as well, using refuelers so the jets could refuel while they're making the run down and then make their way back, took part. They were aiming at paralyzing all three ports used by the Houthi rebels. It may not be long before they're outfitted and start firing again, but for right now, they have a mess on their hands. Targets include the fuel and oil depots, 2 power stations, and 8 tugboats used by the Houthi-controlled party. They are used to bring ships into ports. The previous attack also was targeting cranes to unload shipments in case Iran is shipping weapons to the Houthi rebels, which we know they've been doing. For more details, here's this report.
Today, the IDF conducted precise strikes on Houthi military targets in Yemen, including ports and energy infrastructures in Sana'a, which the Houthis have been using in ways that effectively contributed to their military actions. Israel will not hesitate to act in order to defend itself and its citizens from the Houthis' attacks.
And again, by mentioning Sana'a, that's very important. That is the rebel-held capital in Yemen. And yet in this nation, we still have those protesters that surface from time to time shouting death to Israel and supporting Hamas, the Houthi rebels, Hezbollah. And many of them that are taking part in it are college students, useful idiots in some cases, some having no idea what they're doing, but they just want to be part of something. But among those that are students that are here on student visas, if they're taking part in these kinds of demonstrations to basically call for the genocide of Jews and to wipe Israel off the face of the map, incoming Attorney General Pam Bondi says things are going to change if you think you can continue to do that, even though you are protected by the First Amendment to make those remarks. We have control of your student visa, Pam Bondi.
These students in universities in our country, whether they're here as Americans or if they're here on student visas, and they're out there saying, I support Hamas. You and I have seen that on all of these television shows. Frankly, they need to be taken out of our country, or the FBI needs to be interviewing them right away when they're saying, I support Hamas, I am Hamas. That's not saying I support all these poor Palestinians who are trapped in Gaza. That's not what they're saying. So I think their student visas need to be revoked. I think we need to reinstate President Trump's travel ban immediately. There's a lot of things that can be done to stop this. But yeah, the anti-Semitism that is rampant throughout this country now. And it's truly, truly heartbreaking to see what's happening to all of our Jewish friends in this country by really just, I think, a lot of ignorant kids and students and people who don't understand that Hamas equals terrorism, even worse, at its worst.
Yeah, they're that stupid. They're so stupid that some of them will hold signs, gays for Hamas, not understanding that you would be executed if you proclaim that you were gay in a Sharia country. In the meantime, what's the latest on our drones? Drones here, there, everywhere, and yeah, again overnight. We're still being told, don't worry, despite a classified briefing of 3 hours to members of Congress. A former deputy in the Defense Department has his own take on what is happening and the potential threat.
Defense begins at home. This is absolutely a national security threat, and it's a shame that it's taken so long for the feds to get out in front of this and addressing it head on. It's not inconceivable to think that these drones could be used for more nefarious purposes than the possible surveillance that we're seeing in New Jersey today. Right. The policy is the biggest issue that we have so far today. The FAA controls all airspace. As soon as something's off the ground, it's federal airspace. The policies allow the Defense Department to defeat drones that are directly above their military installations. That does nothing to be once these drones are a foot or 2 feet off the perimeter line. So it's really an overarching, comprehensive debate that needs to be addressed, both from the FAA side and then from also incorporating our state and local partners.
And you know, that point that if it's not actually in the restricted zone, I'm a pilot, instrument, commercial, multi-engine certified. And there have been times in flying a route, especially if I'm going into the Destin region, you've got military installations and you have a narrow corridor to go through. And if you begin to get too close to that outer boundary of that corridor, you're alerted. They're not going to shoot me down just being on the edge of it. But if I cross in, I'm inviting that possibility. And if we have the FAA's just not sure what to do, if they are just outside the zone, do you really need to have new instructions for that? Can we use a little common sense here? I don't want to be shooting down everyone that wanders in by mistake or even intentionally thinks, well, I'm just going to cut my trip short. I'm going to go across this real quick. You can't do that real quick. You're inside special airspace, restricted airspace. And these drones, once they're identified as a drone, they definitely should be brought down. In the meantime, the government may be facing a shutdown if they cannot come up with a clean budget by Friday midnight, or a budget at all, actually. And at this point, this 1,500 pages that has so much CRAP in it that it needs to just be trash, burn, and start over page one, do this, this, and this, and continue the government. We keep going. But all the other stuff that's put in there, I mentioned earlier in the first hour, if you missed it, there's material in there that even suggests we want to change some language that has nothing to do with spending. Let me repeat it for you again. The continuing resolution bill actually has a part in it where it removes the word offender and replaces offender with justice-involved individual. Now, that is wokeism all over it. So how much other wokeism exists inside this pork package. Speaker Mike Johnson is facing obviously intense pressure from Trump and other senators and congressmen. Trump has made it clear that if you're going to support this kind of nonsense, you expect to be primaried the next time around. In the meantime, you've got Vivek and Elon getting charged with they're basically stalling this out. They should not have jumped in at the 11th hour. This is according to one House Republican not being publicly identified. He's saying Musk and Vivek jumped in at the 11th hour. They should have handled it directly with the speaker. Folks on the same side shouldn't act like these two, Musk and Vivek. They're more about the clicks and bright lights and getting the job done. I'll have nothing to do with them after watching them publicly trash the speaker. The speaker is failing if he's not delivering on what the mandate Trump got from the American public. The mandate from the American public is we don't like the road we're on. We don't like how we've been spending. We don't like living paycheck to paycheck. We don't like the possibility of costs continuing to go up. And just yesterday, when the Fed cuts interest rate by another 0.25%, stock market closing down 1,000 points. And everybody's worried about a government shutdown come midnight if they don't get some kind of bill put together by then. There are those who've made it very clear, go ahead and shut it down. And Speaker Johnson's leadership is also hanging in the balance. Back in May, 163 Democrats helped save his rear end at that point. But this $1,500 page year-end spending deal, I don't know if they're going to have enough votes to save him this time around. J.D. Vance stated, this is a statement he said from me and President Trump. The most foolish and inept thing ever done by congressional Republicans was allowing our country to hit the debt ceiling in 2025. It was a mistake. It is now something that must be addressed. It must be addressed now. We're at $36 trillion in debt. And they want to just continue to spend more money and put more woke policies in. This is their last hurrah for the Democrats. Do not let them have this victory. Coming up, the Matt Gaetz story. Lock and load. Ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
Wellington Environmental knows this is a rough time for many people, just struggling to make ends meet, and here come the holidays. Wellington is an advisor to the Salvation Army Gateway Citadel. They need more bell ringers, and Wellington has some spots in South County you could help fill. If you sign up 6 or more to ring a bell for at least an hour, Wellington Environmental will make a customized sign to sit on top of the red kettle for free. Put your company name, your team name, your family name, whatever you want. Call Wellington, 314-644-4930. 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com does the same thing. WellingtonSTL.com. Ring a bell this season and help others. One of the greatest pleasures in life is giving. Giving something special to someone just because. Vincent's Jewelers can help you, and you should know that Vincent's has helped raise almost $2 million for local charities. Vincent's Jewelers, St. Louis's premier, full-service, locally owned jewelry store. Check VincentsJewelers.com every day for new items. VincentsJewelers.com. My only jeweler, VincentsJewelers.com. I want you to know that McGuire Moving and Storage is silver certified. which means McGuire has a quality reputation helping older adults move local or long distance. And something else to know, Josh McGuire, president of McGuire Moving and Storage, is the only certified moving consultant in Missouri. I'll tell you, once you met Josh, you're going to know your move will be easy. And I fully endorse McGuire Moving and Storage. McGuireMoving.com.
This is News Talk STL. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Look, to me, this is not that complicated. Matt Gaetz is what he is, and the Republicans in the House were just as happy as the Democrats originally to release the report because they didn't want to have to answer for him or stand up behind him. Then what happened is Donald Trump appointed him to be the Attorney General, and all of a sudden, the Republicans all fell into line. And the Republicans in the House were going to protect Matt Gaetz at all costs because that's what Donald Trump wanted them to do. Then Matt Gaetz dropped out, and they reverted back to, okay, let's release the report, except with the caveat, we don't want to embarrass our members by having them to answer questions about this report. You know, as Ali said, for understandable political reasons. Let's be clear. The Democrats, they don't have any political reasons to not want to talk about the Gaetz report. The people who are worried that this will be released while they're still around are the Republicans who are going to have to explain why it is they were willing to protect this guy for so long and wanted to originally stymie this report. And the only reason they were wanting to do that is because they're sycophants and protectors of Donald Trump.
And Mark Elias, the Democrat attorney, is not a sycophant for the Democrats. And which, by the way, he is wrong when he says Democrats had no concern about the Matt Gaetz report coming out. Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do. Because they're very worried that if that's going to come out, then maybe some are going to say, as they have already, release all reports of congressional misdeeds. And that slush fund that's paid out $18 million over the last several years. Who was paid and for what? And I will guarantee you right now, I'll put $5,000 on the table right now that in that report, in that slush fund, you're going to find Democrats as well as some Republicans. So yes, Mark Elias, you know that as well. You want to put 5,000 up against me? You want to make it 100,000? I'm sure you can get some people to pitch in. We'll put down 100. You pay us 300,000 if you're wrong. We'll all be happier off. And you will have less money. I'll get to that in more detail in a moment. But let's deal with the fact that the House decided to release the ethics report on Matt Gaetz. Now, I am of the opinion, and I've said this previously, when Trump had nominated him to head up the FBI, and I still say I don't know, honestly, if Trump knew that this would blow up and he just didn't care because he just wanted to troll the Democrats. I really don't know. But they did not want Matt Gaetz in charge of the FBI, and the best thing is pull up that ethics report. Well, the ethics report, what is in it? We haven't seen it in detail yet, but we know enough, and we know by responses from Matt Gaetz what's inside of it. Gaetz said, and admitting something that maybe a lot of us will have to admit. Are you listening? Are you listening? Are you listening? Because I'm going to list something in a moment that you probably will have to admit that you're guilty of. Now, keep in mind, I'm not calling you out because we're all sinners in God's eye. But we all need to have the gift of grace and redemption through Jesus Christ. But we're all sinners. There's been only one man to walk the face of this earth without sin, and that was Jesus Christ. So when I'm going to list here in a moment, again, I'm willing to say that will include you. And I don't even have to know you in any way. You don't know me. You're in some far distant state, maybe around the world listening. because you can listen to this program on our app at NewsTalkSTL from anywhere in the world. You did know that, right? You simply download NewsTalkSTL, the app, for free, put it on your phone. You punch 2 buttons and you're listening to whatever the program is on the air at that moment. And you can also Google LarryConnorsUSA.com, LarryConnorsUSA.com, and pull up every program I've ever had up. And you can also, again, listen and watch going by Larry Connors USA when I'm on the air. I don't care where you are, you can do that. But wherever you are in the world, this may well apply to you. I know it applies to you. I don't say may, it does apply to you. Let's deal specifically with Matt Gaetz again briefly. He points out in a statement, the Biden-Garland DOJ. I mean, if you couldn't have any 2 worst enemies against you, it would be Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, mealy-mouthed Merrick Garland, and the DOJ, our Department of Justice, coming after you with everything at their disposal, the FBI, the IRS, and Biden could sick in the CIA if they wanted to as well, to come after you. He points out they spent years reviewing allegations that I committed various crimes. I was charged with nothing, fully exonerated, not even a campaign finance violation, and the people investigating me hated me. That's Matt Gaetz. He can be cocky. He can be. And I said maybe Trump just put him up knowing he was never going to make it as FBI director, but just to incense and troll the left. But Gaetz then adds, the very witnesses the DOJ deemed not credible were assembled by the House Ethics Committee to repeat their claims, absent any cross-examination or challenge from me or my attorneys. I've never had a chance to confront any accusers. I've never been charged. I've never been sued. But then he admits this, and this may well involve you. I'm going to admit to you it involves me. Shamefully, I have to admit that. He said, in my single days, you might not have done everything I'm going to detail, but you know you're close enough to it. In my single days, I often sent money to women I dated, even some I never dated, but asked for money. I dated several of these women for years. I never had sexual contact with someone under the age of 18. Any claim of that would be destroyed in court, which is why there is no such claim. My 30s were an era of working very hard and playing hard. He said, it's embarrassing, though not criminal, that I probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than I should have earlier in life. I live a different life now. Well, it sounds like the story of Hunter Biden, does it not? Snorting crack, smoking it, posing nude with women. That's not a criminal crime, as long as they're above 18. The crack, the cocaine, yeah, that is, but you got to prove it. And the idea that now to release this Matt Gaetz ethics report, I say fine, bring it on. I'm all about letting everything out. And so are other members of Congress, including Marjorie Taylor Greene. She said, yeah, release his and reports on every other member of Congress, now and in the past. Which brings us to a report dated 2017 by CNN, and this still exists, a slush fund that was being used to pay off on behalf of members of Congress and our members of their staff who were involved in sexual allegations, groping, kissing, without permission from the other party, maybe some underage, possibly, but they all got settlement. It was paid out over a period of 20 years, at least, and that was as noted as 2017. We don't know how much has been paid out since. We don't even know for sure how many settlements. According to the data released back in 2017, 268 settlements. Settlement money coming from taxpayers, no kidding. How many were sexual harassment related? It's not clear. Who knows about the settlements and the payments? Well, obviously, the person's making the claim and who got the money. And they're not to say anything else about it. At that time, a source in House Speaker Paul Ryan's office told CNN he's not aware of any details of harassment settlements. Come on. And that slush fund still exists. If you think the sexual harassment, the discrimination, sexual discrimination ended in 2017 as a report of those numbers, you really need help. You don't understand the world. And every once in a while, a case will surface, and they thought the Matt Gaetz would be a perfect one. Would Matt Gaetz in the story, the allegations against him, qualified for a taxpayer settlement to have these stories go away? No one tried. The people told their stories, but there was nothing criminal. They were trying to destroy him over that. Matt Gaetz, in a statement this last September to the Ethics Committee, you're asking whether I have engaged in sexual activity with any individual under 18. The answer to this question is unequivocally no. And you can apply this response to every version of this question in every forum. That might be also true for any member of Congress in any of those settlements. But if they're not all laid out for us to see in detail, we don't know, do we? Those who live in glass houses, maybe they are not going to be excited about the Gaetz report being released. Coming up, an update on illegals trying to take over our country.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
Question: are you looking to unlock the full potential of artificial intelligence for your business? I want you to meet my friends at PRI Global, named by the St. Louis Business Journal as a leading IT consulting firm. 25 years helping local and worldwide companies. PRI Global has a free survey to determine where your company stands in your AI journey. You simply go to priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai. And I also have a phone number, so get ready to copy that number. And I'll remind you that PRI Global has its own AI lab, creating, adapting, developing, pushing the boundaries for what AI can do for you. Here's the number, 636-689-0545, 636-689-0545, or visit priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai. Here's great news. Napoli Kirkwood is now open. So that means fine dining right in the heart of Kirkwood. So you have the original Cafe Napoli in downtown Clayton, Napoli 2, Town and Country, Napoli 3 on the streets of St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, plus Napoli Brothers Pasta and Pizza in the Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, and now adding Napoli Kirkwood. What a great place to dine. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. Renewal by Andersen sponsoring this hour of Larry Connors USA. And let's be honest, most window companies are pushing cheap vinyl windows, adding bells and whistles to make them sound great, but renewal windows are twice as strong. You do not want to go cheap when you can go with quality and get the nation's best warranty. Check the website, rbastl.com, or dial pound 250, pound 250, and say Windows.
This is News Talk STL.
Out your plan to make it through with some other guy that you knew before. And you two other guys, you know I love you more. Took me by surprise, I must say, when I found out yesterday. Ooh, I paid it to the grapevine.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
arrested 19 suspected Tren de Aragua gang members in Aurora, Colorado. They say kidnapped and tortured 2 victims for hours. This all happened at the Edge at Lowry Complex, which is the same apartment complex that was overrun by the violent gang earlier this year. The management company that runs it wrote, "These gangs have been allowed to take over our apartment buildings and terrorize innocent people. We hope the message is learned so it doesn't spread anymore."
But it has. That's a report on the gangs inside Aurora, Colorado, where, yes, there was video, even though folks were insisting it's not really happening. There's video of these gangs roaming through the hallways, carrying guns, machetes. The Venezuelan gangs love to use machetes, threatening people. It is possible the folks that they kidnapped, is still not clear to me, if they are members of a rival gang or they're members of their own gang that they decide to take action against, or if they're just citizens of Colorado. What is clear, the Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, are not the latest and first cities to become the flashpoints in U.S. immigration debate. Many Americans probably didn't know much about Aurora, Colorado, nor Springfield, Ohio, until suddenly the word came out that we've had these illegal gangs creating a war zone, basically. That's how Trump declared it, and I agree. We're also seeing it around the world. Right now, in Ireland, there are groups of immigrants that are so anti-Semitic, they're causing problems for Ireland. In Germany, they've allowed so many illegals into their country, thinking that was the right thing to do, realizing too late it was not, that parts of Germany are being overpopulated by illegals who are probably of Muslim persuasion. There's nothing wrong with Muslim persuasion, except if you're trying to turn a country over. If you're coming to our country, regardless of your religion, your race, your ethnicity, if you're coming to the U.S. properly to assimilate, to be part of this great country and add to it and reap the benefits legally, I'm all for it. But if you're coming here to terrorize, pillage, torture, rape, kill, vandalize, and mutilate children, no. I'll give you another town that's just standing out now. This is in North Carolina. Siler City. Siler City has a big poultry industry. And the poultry meatpacking areas, they attract a lot of illegals because they're willing to work cheaper, they're willing to work hard labor and dangerous equipment. And unfortunately, many times illegal kids are found at these facilities. Not just illegal men and women, but kids operating extremely dangerous and are toxic materials and chemicals. They've had a rapid demographic change in Siler City. In 1990, the town was, and this is not based upon race as trying to point out the difference. We're talking about how when a group starts coming in and organizing and they make a point of taking over something, they can. I mean, that's what's happening in Germany and Belgium and parts of France. They're being overrun by other nations. It's an invasion. In the late 20th century, jobs in Siler City's poultry industry absolutely led to a change in demographics. 1990, the town was 98% white and African American. By 2000, 40% of the 6,000 population identified as Hispanic or Latino. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with Hispanic or Latino, even if they're just coming there for a job, but they basically have changed the face of that community. I'll state again, nothing wrong with that, unless you're using it as a weapon against those who grew up there and it's been their home for decades. That's what's happening in this country. It's happening around the world in other countries as well. The face of their country is being changed. They are losing their country, and pretty soon they will not have it. Similar story in Lewiston, Maine. They had something like, in 2002, 1,000 Somalia refugees had settled. And he said, our city is maxed out financially, physically, and emotionally. We need to pass the word to the Somali people to tell other Somalis, don't come here. Well, they did. And it wasn't not to come because we don't like you, but you're changing the face of our city and our economy. And too many are coming in needing things and undercutting jobs Americans had. Chicago incoming border czar Tom Homan. He said, when Trump gives me the word after he's sworn in, we will start rounding up illegals. He said, we're going to go to the prisons and cells and take them out that are being held right now. We're going to get them and we're going to deport them. And Trump says the nations that they came from illegally, they will take them back, or we will shut off trade with them and we will make them pay financially. We'll bankrupt their country, so they will have to take them back. Now, what happens to them under their country at that point, we're not sure, obviously. But they should not have come here illegally. And that's why many illegals, if they're smart, are taking their family and they're leaving now, because then they can apply to come back in. But if they're deported, they will not get a chance to come back in. But in Chicago, Holman had said Chicago will be ground zero. And you know why? We've heard the problems out of New York City. New York City Mayor Adams says he's being castigated by his own political party, and they're trying to pin up charges on him because he's standing against Joe Biden and all the illegals that are in not only New York City, but New York State. In Chicago, they have a mayor who is all about blue cities and blue sanctuaries. Well, at a town hall session just recently, Chicago residents from South Chicago, all black, went before the mayor, who's also black, and the city council, and lashed out. Listen to this.
You caused all this money to go to illegal immigrants, not Harold Washington. You gonna be held accountable for it.
All you illegals, you ain't gonna have no Merry Christmas. You're gonna have a Merry Deportation Christmas.
We need Tom Homan here in Chicago. We need Donald Trump. We need to start voting different in these cities like New York and Chicago. You got a 14% approval rating, so the people is looking like they're telling you that you're fired, man. Can you do the job, Mr. Brandon Johnson?
Yeah, good question. You know what he did? Gavelled the session to an end, said, clear the room, meeting is over. They're not going to do anything until they're forced to. When Trump originally proposed, when he came into office the first time, cut off federal funding for every city or state that claims to be a sanctuary. Oh, no, you can't do that. And he couldn't. But for all those who want to have illegals in their city, knowing they're illegals, knowing they may be trafficking in drugs and our children and committing crimes, where is the heartfelt left to say, you can come stay at my home with me and my children? You're not going to find them anywhere. They don't mind them being on the streets as long as they're not on their street, not in my backyard mentality. Holman comes in, we're going to see some big changes. And the rest of the world is watching. Because they already began trying to decide, what do we do about all these illegals in our country? That maybe we said, come on in, as the German chancellor did. She said, come on in. England has basically said, we're not taking any more immigrants, period. They were for a while, and in Germany, taking them not as illegals, but immigrants. You need a place, come to Germany. And they're realizing that was a bad mistake. The face of Germany is changing. It's looking more like Somalia. I understand people wanting to get out of some of the S-holes as Trump described them, and they are. And they know it. That's why they want to get out. They want to come to America and have a new life. But there's a proper way to do that. And there are many waiting to come the proper way that are not getting their opportunity because of the 12 to 15 million illegals in our country. The problem and the real issue will be if they came here illegally and they've since had children, there's another point. A child born in the U.S. is automatically an American citizen. You don't want to break up the family. Trump has said, well, then the family can take their child and leave and go back to their country. The child still has a U.S. citizenship, but Trump's also trying to put an end to that, the so-called anchor babies. And I think we need to. We're the only nation in the world that allows you to be born on our soil. You're automatically a citizen. And then you get all the attacks that they've had to hammer out against Trump, and some of them, we know how they've fallen apart. But one of the ones that I find the most funny involves Fani Willis, and her attack on Trump just blows up in her face.
Here we go. A Georgia Court of Appeals has disqualified the Fulton County DA Fani Willis from that election interference case. It's coming down right now. The case against Trump and more than a dozen others already largely stalled, as you know. The new ruling means that it will be up to the prosecuting attorney's council in the state of Georgia to find another prosecutor to decide on the case, to take it over and make a decision as to whether or not they continue with a prosecution of the incoming president.
And former Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Yoo is here. John, does this mean that this is yet another one of the cases against Trump that could go away before he's president?
It's another example, Dana, of this lawfare campaign that was waged by Democrats, boomeranging back on them and falling all around their ears. Anyone who watched this trial, remember, this is the DA who claimed that the entire Trump reelection campaign was something like an organized crime racket that was intending to deprive everyone of our civil rights to vote.
And it was not at all. And as he said, it's all now falling around their ears. Now, the court did not toss out Trump's indictment entirely. It said you're going to need another prosecutor because Willis has no authority to proceed. When she originally was filing the charges, she was asking other prosecutors in Georgia, you want to join me in this? Not one of them, not one, stepped up to do so. So don't expect any prosecutor to step forward now, unless it's somebody who wants to make a name for themselves. Trump is saying this dismissal or basically saying that they have no authority to proceed. He said that is a win for us. He said, and the wonderful patriots who have been caught up in this for years should receive an apology from the state of Georgia for putting us through this. As Trump said, the whole case has been a disgrace to justice. Started by the Biden DOJ as an attack on me. They used anyone and everybody. She's been disqualified, her boyfriend disqualified, and they sold funds and went on trips. So there could be repercussions still to come against Fani Willis and her boyfriend for misuse of government dollars. And there should be. In the meantime, speaking of dollars, everyone's concerned, are we going to have a budget so we can continue to keep the government open past midnight Friday? Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich says, close up the government, let it happen. We're not going to buy this pork that they've been shoving in our face. Vivek and Ilan have both said this bill is full of nonsense spending. And they don't like what Speaker Johnson has done. And to that extent, Senator Rand Paul says, I want to nominate Elon Musk to be Speaker of the House. Yes, you don't have to be a member of Congress to be the Speaker of the House. And he's saying, let's put Musk in there. Whoa, that'd be pretty good. You know the strike you should be worried about right now? Not the shutdown of the government, but Amazon. Teamsters working for Amazon are suddenly on a strike because they're not getting the settlement they want. Right here at Christmas with all these packages, if you have things coming or going using Amazon, well, now you might have an issue. The government shuts down, that's not going to change your life. We'll get around it, we'll get over it, and we'll get things back on track. Allman Report coming up next. As always, I thank you for listening. Please inform others. And remember our pledge, one nation under God.
You can follow Larry on Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.